Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rollercoaster Rants, episode number 1.
What's up, everybody?
My name is Marcus,
And I'm Ryan.
and we are starting a new venture. Both want to be roller coaster enthusiasts here.
Wannabe, yes.
We are best friends that been best friends for more than 10 years, and both have a love for roller coasters.
hmm
And want to start documenting our journeys, our rides, trips, as well as definitely kind of bucket list items, parks, rides, and share it with you, as well as our thoughts on what parks we've been to, what parks rides we like.
And a lot of rants.
Just rants, because and we're not going to pretend to even be the most knowledgeable roller coaster connoisseurs. That's the opposite of what we are. We are just two guys who like riding roller coasters, really.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, this past weekend is kind of the start of our roller coaster ranting journey. My home park, I'm from Kentucky, but I venture across the Ohio River quite often. I'm northern Kentucky based, and so my home park is Kings Island. And so our trip this weekend included Kings Island as well as Ryan's home park.
Yep, and I'm from Indiana, and my home park is in Indiana. It's the glorious Holiday World family park, but it packs a punch for sure, and we'll get into that.
Here's the thing: I had never been to Holiday World, and Ryan had been to Kings Island before.
Yeah, but it was 10 years ago or so, and whether I didn't ride a ton of stuff or I don't remember riding a ton of stuff, it was kind of before my days of being like an enthusiast, so I really
Yeah.
just I didn't remember much at all, or if any. So pretty much a new experience for me as well, which made the trip more interesting, I think.
So essentially, we went to each other's home park, and I've been going to Kings Island since I was a little kid. My first major coaster was Son of Beast, so that kind of puts an age of where I was, and so I've been going to Kings Island for a long time. Ryan's been going to Holiday World his entire life, and so essentially, we wanted to come at the perspective of we each went to each other's home park, and the other is giving kind of a first person reaction, while also we're giving a person's reaction who's been to the park
Yep.
their whole life. And our kind of goal was what roller coasters we rode this weekend. We wanted to give them a ranking, and it couldn't be a nostalgia ranking. It had to be
Just the day of.
just
Keep
the
it
day
fair.
of. Yes. So how the roller coaster was running, how it was riding, so very specific. And so we rode 17 coasters this weekend. Ryan spent 3 days back to back to back.
Yeah, so I went to basically our trip was Saturday and a Sunday. World we were going to hit up on Saturday and then Kings Island on Sunday. But Marcus actually showed me the posting that Holiday World was doing a special event on Friday night. And basically, you could come in for, I believe it was 5 hours.
Yep.
And not only could you ride all of the big attractions and there were no waits, you could also ride the Voyage trimless, which we can get that into that in a bit. But it was life changing. So, yeah. So I guess we can just kind of go into the next
Yeah.
day, the Saturday. You kind of want to just run through what we did, and
Yep.
then we can kind of hit on our rankings afterward. So
Yeah.
we'll kind of
Yeah.
just do like a brief summary of each day, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Saturday, I drove over from Northern Kentucky, and so obviously early start to the morning. But you get to Holiday World, and as a first time walking in, it's a really cool park. You see the Raven off to the left, and then we actually took the trek and went all the way to the back of the park first. So really got to see the entire park as a whole, and so it was really cool. I mean, obviously, someone who's been to Kings Island all the time, you think a small family owned park is going to be small, but I'll be honest, it didn't come across that way.
yeah, no, it's kind of like it's kind of shaped different than just the normal like the circle. So you're definitely doing a lot of walking though. You're gonna long way from front to back. It's kind of narrow. Um,
We started our journey back at Thunderbird for the day. Rode it once, and then Voyage. Did we do that number 2?
Yeah. First, I guess I can go into Thunderbird a little bit. It's
Yeah.
a B&M wing
Yep.
launch coaster. We won't go too much into
Yeah.
our opinions on it right now because that we kind of want to do that on our rankings, and everything. But it's definitely a solid ride. It's a fun time. Definitely want to ride the left, in my opinion, on that. I can
Yes.
like
Yeah.
okay, so I guess Marcus agrees with me on that. If you're ever going on Thunderbird, pick the left side, not the right. It's a totally different ride.
I just feel like the element. Kind of get into the opinion. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but the elements were just so
We
much
can kind of
better on
give
the
a
left.
little teaser
Yeah,
on
a little,
stuff
little
now,
teaser, but
So
elements were better on the left. And then classic B&M, it's smooth.
very
Um,
smooth, very smooth.
so
Launch is good too. Launch is really good.
the launch packed more of a punch than I was expecting. I've rode a Gatekeeper at Cedar Point, and I've rode a Wild Eagle.
Yeah,
So both wing coasters, but they didn't have the launch aspect. I thought that was a cool aspect to add.
yeah, and I've ridden Gatekeeper. If just between those two, I'd say they're pretty neck and neck. Launch is definitely a highlight of Thunderbird, but Gatekeeper's got the longer layout. Elements wise, it's about the same. You might get a couple better ones on Gatekeeper, but again, I think they're pretty neck and neck
Yeah.
in terms of, and they're usually known as being the two best wing coasters in the U.S. Um, and as far those are the only two I've been on, so
Yeah.
I think they're pretty close to each other.
Yeah, going from the three, I think that the thing that I really liked about Thunderbird that Gatekeeper had, but Wild Eagle at Dollywood didn't, and that was just some near miss elements there at the end, and you really get that on the left side
Yeah,
if you ride the left side, and so having those close near miss choppers was what made it just that much more and exhilarating
yeah,
ride for
and then
me.
you just get you're just closer to the ground on the left side, and that makes it more exciting. And because the right side, you're just not getting a ton of airtime because it's a wing coaster. It's
Yeah,
kind of how it is.
but my big takeaway from Thunderbird, kind of in summary for me, was, I mean, it's a short layout, but
Yeah.
it is an action packed 30 to 40 seconds of ride time.
Yeah, and what we'll get into if you don't really know much about Holiday World is they are all about their woodies at
Yeah,
Holiday World. So this is a great change of pace. We did it in the beginning of the day, but usually it's a great change of
yeah.
pace. It's very smooth. And you get a little bit of a break from the woodies. So, yeah.
Next comes ride number two, first on the day, and that was the Voyage. What? No,
I think we actually did Good Gravy before the
did we do
voyage.
Good Gravy before the Voyage?
I believe so.
Either way, so we ended up doing Good Gravy, and then hopped over to, because they're all located in
Yeah, yeah.
Thanksgiving.
So that's another thing about Holiday World. The two older coasters are going to be up in the Halloween area, but they kind of made this whole new area Thanksgiving, which is the theming of Holiday World, by the way. You've got the different holidays. So, Thanksgiving they made with the Voyage, and then they've really just had all the room to expand that way. So you've got your new Vekoma Family Boomerang that just came out this year is in Thanksgiving, and then also Thunderbirds all the way back in Thanksgiving as well. So I believe we went to Good Gravy
Yeah.
first, but we can kind of
We'll start with Good Gravy. I mean, either way, we did those back to back.
yeah. I mean, Good Gravy. It's smooth as can be. I like what I like about Good Gravy is something that Hollywood has never really done that well, and that's what you can expect from a family park, and it's the theming.
Yep.
The queues themed really well, the rides themed really well. You're actually in a gravy boat going through cranberry sauce. It's a kind of it's fun. It's really fun. It's obviously, I mean, it's not our type of ride necessarily, or I won't speak for you, but I can guess you're gonna say that. It's just not
We'll let the rankings decide.
yeah, we'll let the rank decide, but it's just not thrilling at all. It's very smooth, it's short, but it's like the perfect fit for this park because, again, you've got the Thunderbird, the B&M Wing launch, and then you've got three Woodies, that are all substantial Woodies. They're not little kids Woodies, so
Yeah.
it's a good balance point from the little bitty kiddie coaster, which we didn't go on today, or that day, and then the Raven, which would probably be the least intense of the three Woodies. So
Yeah, I completely agree. I think overall, you look at Good Gravy, and it is, and just like you said with Thunderbird, it's a change of pace. I think that for what Good Gravy was and is, it's perfect, because it is something that a younger roller coaster rider can get on, enjoy it, and that can be one of their first coasters. That's not in the kiddie section, but it's also for me a fun ride that it is what it is. It was smooth. Still, I enjoyed it.
I know it's cliche to say like roller coaster is a perfect fit for a park.
Yeah.
And that everyone says that about something when they're like, "Oh, it's okay. It's a good fit for the park." This actually is a perfect fit for the park. And obviously I would have preferred a thrill coaster, but that's just me being selfish. And this is a lot smarter of an idea that they went with for sure. And it's good for this year especially, but it's really going to be good going forward.
You have to cater to every audience member that attends a park because
no, just thrill seekers.
Just thrill seekers.
It's the only thing that matters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is Holiday World. I think you're exactly right. They had those thrill-seeking coasters. All three of the Woodies. I completely agree. I don't think that anyone who can ride those three coasters can walk away and say that, this deserves to be in the kid section of a park because they're not. They are very intense rides, and so you take Good Gravy and you put that into what it is. It's exactly what's needed. And so I walk away from that ride. It's very smooth, it's fun, and it does what it's meant to.
All right. Big boy up next.
You had the opportunity of getting truly the best experience that you can get on the ride the night before.
So
that's Trimless Voyage.
Yeah, so I've ridden the Voyage probably 30, 40, 50 times before in my entire life before this, but it's been a while. And I came in again Friday night, the night before they had the special event, and I got the chance to ride it trimless. And I don't want to go into too much of my rankings a whole lot, but it was like a life-changing experience. I can honestly say the speed that you're ripping through the layout, after the no trim brakes on the back half is unlike anything I've ever experienced. And I would say that if you are an enthusiast, if you're an aspiring enthusiast, or you just love roller coasters, that you have to find a way to either get out to Hollywood Nights. I know that's like super popular nowadays. We are really going to try to go next year. But we'll see where the cards lay on that. Or, again, I owe it to Marcus for looking at their little, their post on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook group.
Yep, their Facebook post. They kind of threw this event together, and had the trimless ride, and it was just unlike anything I've ever experienced. It was crazy because we had walk-ons on every roller coaster throughout the day, even Voyage. But as soon as it hit 8:00 and they turned the trims off, I waited an hour.
So. Yeah, I mean, so I wasn't able to go due to some prior obligations, but Ryan was texting me and was saying, "Oh my gosh, literally walk on," and we kept going. And so, but it almost felt as as I was checking my phone, it was a flip of a switch. It went from being walk on to holy crap.
Yeah, then
I sent a photo of a long line. Yeah,
it was so worth it though. It kind of sucked because we only got to ride it once because the line was like an hour and a half long for the second one, and it was already whatever. We wanted to ride the other night rides as well, but we wouldn't have been able to ride the Voyage again because the line was just so long. It was the whole reason everyone was there, and yeah, it was. The other night rides, like we did Thunderbird and Legend at night as well, and they were great. But the Voyage is just like, it's just another level. It's the best roller coaster experience I've ever had in my life. So
that's not teaching the rankings at all.
No, that's not involved in the rankings technically because we're only doing it from when we went on the trip. But
Saturday and Sunday.
But yeah, it's incredible, especially for this kind of style of roller coaster. Which again, you'll realize what kind of roller coasters I like, but. My style of roller coaster is just perfect for that. So
even myself, walking away from the Voyage, you hear about the hype. There's so many, even Kings Island enthusiasts that I follow on social media. They all recognize that the Voyage is, if not the top, one of the top wooden roller coasters.
The top.
So a little bias there from his home park, but that you even have to, as a consolation
I
here.
I don't know if you need bias for the Voyage.
I mean,
I guess we'll see.
See, that's the thing, that both parks, Kings Island and Holiday World, have their icon of a wooden roller coaster, and even myself.
Some of their icons are actually the best wooden roller coaster in the park, and some of them aren't. But maybe we'll get into that.
Shots fired. But even Kings Island enthusiasts, there was one in particular. He holds the world record holder for the most rides on the racer, and well known in, I think, the roller coaster community. It's Don Helbig, and he himself had even posted that he was going to be at the event Friday night that Ryan was at. And if I'm remember correctly, he even says that the Voyage is his number one roller coaster, and so many number one wooden roller coaster that is. So many people consider this the Voyage to be number one. So you listen, you know the hype. I mean, I say all that because you know the hype as someone in the roller coaster community. It's gonna be a ride experience. It's going to be close to the top. Should be close to the top.
Yeah, even walking up to it, it's imposing.
And,
in a little family park like that, it looks like a hyper coaster.
Yes,
it is.
It dominates the skyline. You see it. You know, you don't have to guess which roller coaster it is.
Yeah, you know what it is, and the layout on it is maybe one of the best layouts I've ever seen on any coaster. So, again, I don't want to get too much into the ride experience right now, but it is. It's obviously a phenomenal ride. Yep. So, and it's. As your just give me your your first initial impressions after your first ride and stuff.
I mean, I walked off of it and you hit the trim brake or the brake run and the ride's over and you're just automatically like I think my wife also went on the trip with us and both of us just kind of looked at one another like our mouths were open or it dropped but just because of that, it's that thrilling of a ride.
Yeah.
You're like, what did I just witness? What did I just experience? And again, me not teasing into anything either, but for the rankings, it really was just a very memorable experience. A lot of fun, and just nonstop action.
Yeah,
I think that's what
pacing on is probably the best feature of it, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's got incredible.
And it's got so many elements that is good, so many different elements. Because, like we talked about in the park, I know we're dissecting it a little bit, but
the ride a little bit. I mean, yeah. So basically, you're gonna have the 3 mega hills, all over 100 feet. It's almost like your hyper, airtime hills, and when you're in the back, you get a ton of airtime on them. Probably our best ride of the day on that. It wasn't this ride that we're talking about, but was in the back row, and we just had incredible airtime on these hills.
Yep.
And then you go into like a spaghetti bowl, where you're going 90-degree bank turns. You're kind of weaving through the forest, and this is so far away from the station. You go all the way back into the forest, and it's just really tight turns and everything. And then you go into the final, you kind of almost hit the halfway point, maybe a little bit past it. And that's when you hit the trim brake run, which of course the trim brakes were on the day we went. But you still gain so much speed on that back half of the ride, just returning to the station, just flying out of control, exciting, speed, and the pacing just, again, it never lets up. It's nice.
As awesome. Someone who, my type of coaster, I really love airtime. And I think that's what I like, especially about the front half of the Voyage, is that those first 3 airtime hills, I mean, you're out of your seat.
Yeah. I mean, it has the record for the most airtime on a wooden coaster. So.
Yeah. And check us if that's not correct, but
it's correct.
It's correct. But that's all that to say, this being our first episode, we're going to throw stats out there. We may or may not be correct, but we're trying to give you what it felt like, what it was.
Trimless Voyage, 175 miles per hour, 100% fact.
Yeah, it
felt like it. It's what it felt
gotta
like.
Be faster than Falcon's flight.
What it felt like.
But I mean, all that to say, it really does have so many different elements of a coaster, and the fact that it's all put into one is just it makes for a great experience. Nothing short of that.
Yeah. All right, huge section there, but it is probably the biggest talking point at Holiday World. So next we'll go into the Legend, which we did.
Yep.
And I mean, I'll let you talk about it first, because I know I've ridden the Legend a million times, and it was running great. And I know you were you can just give your were kind of shocked on it.
I really was. And I think it's because it's kind of the opposite of what I was saying with the Voyage, was, you hear about the voyage and how hyped it is. Will it live up to that hype? On the flip side, me myself not really having looked at much into the legend, as well as the Raven, um, and being close by to Holiday World, I know of the rides, but I feel like my theme of the day and my biggest takeaway of the day was how much of a sleeper that the legend was.
Yeah.
If you can consider it a sleeper, because I feel like the voyage takes so much attention away from some of the other rides that I walked off the legend, and almost even more so than my reaction from the voyage was what did I just ride? That helix, I wasn't expecting it. The double helix, it was
Yeah, you're out. The out of control feeling on the legend, especially how it was running a couple days ago, was very comparable to out of control in the voyage. I kind of think it more as like I kind of think of more. I think of the voyage as the standout at Holiday World, but I think the Thunder. I think people like that think people are like more on the Thunderbird over the Legend train. The people that haven't been there and experienced it, and I think that the Legend kind of outshines. I love the Legend. It is the second best. I mean, again, I don't want to just give away my rankings, but I think it's the second best ride at Holiday Road without a doubt.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, and not going into the rankings again, but mine are reflective of that as well. Just because I think it is a sleeper. I think that it's you see, what Thunderbird is. You see, the size of it, but then again, you hop on the Legend, and it's like, oh crap,
The people that say that the Legend has no airtime or limited airtime, they're crazy.
I mean, we were out of our seats
It
multiple
is.
occasions, and
It's incredible airtime.
Ryan was challenging me to go hands up the entire time, and there at one point, I had one hand up and the other hand holding on. It was kind of like at the rodeo, and that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
It was an out of control ride on that double helix that you're sliding into the station on that brake run, practically
Yeah,
going at full
it's all
speed.
the way it's all the way to the finish for sure. It is so out of control, and something we really haven't talked about yet, but is a thing on all three of the wooden coasters. They're gonna be rough. They
Yeah,
are, especially this late in the year. They were especially rough. I've ridden them a lot smoother in the past. I won't say as I'm saying they're rough. It wasn't like an unenjoyable hurt rough. Sure, there were like one or two elements on the trip that were you hit a pothole or you get a jerk and it would kind of jolt you and stuff. But for the most part, it added to the experience, and I definitely think for the Legend in particular, it was just those laterals of just throwing you into the side of your seat were just made the ride even better. It was so
yeah.
exciting and
Got a
awesome.
couple bruises to show for it today, probably, but
Yeah.
but again, that's part of the fun. And yeah, I definitely think that just the out of control nature of the Legend, added to the legend of what it is, and yeah, I think it was a very very fun ride. And
Yep.
so that being up in the Halloween section,
Yeah, so we kind of started at the bottom and
yeah,
made our way all the way
worked up
back to the top,
worked up the hill.
and then of course we did re-rides after. But
Yeah,
last on the list, the number 5 roller coaster, which is if you don't count the little kiddie coaster, there's 5, was the Raven. And the Raven is definitely a great ride. I will say, because of course I've ridden it a lot. It wasn't running its best today for sure. I think a lot of that had to do with it just being a walk on.
yep.
There just weren't people on the trains.
Not enough weight.
They were running slow for sure. The first one we had, sorry for the voice crack. I've lost my voice in these 3 days. I've been screaming
We are
nonstop.
recording this on Monday, following our Saturday Sunday trip, but for Ryan,
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So
So
3 days at the park. I think we did 49. I did 49 rides total in those 3 days, I believe, or maybe that was our count. No,
yeah, I
that was
think
my count. Because we did 24, 25 coasters yesterday, and then I think we did 16 the day before. But I think mine was around 50 coasters for all 3 days. So, 50 rides on coasters. And so yeah, our first ride on the Raven was pretty good for sure. Back row, of course. Legend and Raven are for sure back row rides every time for me. And yeah, we went back row. It was solid. It has decent airtime. The first half isn't the most exciting, but the second half you hit that huge airtime hill, that fifth hill, and then you're just out of control for the rest of the run. And it was fun for sure on that. But that second ride we had
Yeah.
was one of the worst rides we had on the trip, I'd say.
Yeah.
At least from at least a good, like a decent coaster. Of course, there's some stinkers out there, but
Yeah.
probably the worst ride we had at Holiday World, or one of them.
Yeah. It just felt slow. I mean,
There were 6 people on the train. We
yeah.
were in the front row. We weren't really even getting pushed over those hills, and there wasn't much intensity at all. But we're not really judging. We're trying to judge from the best ride
The best
that we
ride
go on that day.
each day is what kind of is factored into our rankings.
Yeah, and that's not the roller coaster's fault that
Nope.
people aren't getting on it. So it was just it. Everyone was in the water park. Everyone was on the voyage. So it just was. It was rough. It wasn't a great ride, but overall, again, I like the Raven. I'll let Marcus talk on it. It was not as good as it normally is. So if he has it a little lower on his rankings than you think it should be, I know I'm trying to do it from that day, but there'll be some bias to Lakeland because I love the Raven. I think it's a great roller coaster. It has 4 golden ticket awards for best wooden roller coaster in the world. It's a ace landmark, so it's definitely a good roller coaster. It just wasn't one of its best days in my opinion. So.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that you said. I mean, it just felt like it wasn't completely there. And which stinks, for me. I can't really say otherwise, because that's all I know.
Yeah, that's all.
I mean, I've had 2 rides on the Raven, and so yeah, it just wasn't what I was expecting. I'm definitely excited to give it a third ride. Give it a third
hopefully
chance.
at Hollywood Nights.
Yeah, Hollywood Nights.
And then it'll be early in the year,
Possibly a little bit smoother as well.
A little more busy too. A little more. We'll get people on the train this time.
Yeah. But so we rode those 5, and then we hit all of our rides. And you were correct, Ryan. 49 must have been yours. 39 total roller coaster rides was mine for Saturday and Sunday. So
we were going
nonstop.
It was just, we stopped to get food. We did, I think, one dark ride. We did one dark ride at each place.
Yeah.
And then every other ride we did on the trip was a coaster.
Yep.
We did all of the unique coasters except for the kiddie rides at both parks.
Yep.
Which is
we did a Liberty launch at Holiday World.
Oh, we did a launch. Yeah. We did a SNS launch. And yeah, my restraints were kind of iffy on it. It was kind of weird. So I was jokingly said, I know I made Taylor, Marcus's wife, and I made her laugh because I was like, I think I'm gonna die here. Like I actually meant it. My restraints were a little weird on that. I'm not
It had some good ejector. I mean, for just a small little thrill ride, it was good.
It's small, but it the amount of airtime you get on the ejectors, it's incredible. So it's actually pretty fun. I'm not a huge flat ride guy, but I did enjoy that one for sure.
I walked away from it as someone who, I did Power Tower up a Cedar Point for the first time earlier this year, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I'm going to be honest, the couple of pops of ejector airtime on Liberty Launch, if I had to go off the 2 rides that I had, I would probably choose Liberty Launch.
Especially when you think you're gonna fly out and die. It's just even more. It's even crazier.
Just about died there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great rest of the day. We spent a full open and close at Holiday World.
I don't think we can talk about Holiday World without talking about kind of the perks that this park has.
Yes.
I know we're roller coaster guys, but when you come to a park and you can just it's unlimited free soft drinks, it's free parking, it's free sunscreen.
And we used all 3.
When you get those kind of perks at amusement park, it just makes your day so much better.
And as someone who, being a Kings Island homer, there are times when, even though I'm a season pass holder, I've got the drink plan, so I don't have to pay anything extra whenever I'm in the park. So it's kind of the same. But I'll say this, that whenever I go to places in Kings Island, there's lines. There's sometimes, you have to scan your barcode. You have to go through the whole rigmarole of getting a drink. But the fact that everyone in our party was able to go freely, we didn't have to wait in a line. It's easy. Pepsi Oasis is what they would say.
That's easy.
We're everywhere, and it was a lot of fun. It made it for a very enjoyable experience. Yeah. I utilized the sunscreen because I forgot my sunscreen in the car. So very first thing we do in the park is stop and use a sunscreen.
Yep.
And I texted Ryan, Saturday morning as I was hitting the roads, like, hey, how much money do I need to bring for parking? How much is it? I
Zero
was gonna
dollars.
bring cash, and he's texted back $0. So I think that as a first time,
Yeah, give me your overall thoughts on Holiday World. If you'd recommend it, what you kind of just what your thoughts were.
Easy sell, would definitely recommend because it is a very clean, fun park,
Yeah,
um,
and it has that. It's a very fun, clean park. But it has that headlining attraction too,
yeah.
which
Well,
is
and I think that that's the fun part of it is that it's a small park, but it doesn't feel
yeah.
like a small park, and I think that's because it does have that elite roller coaster
I mean,
that some parks don't have.
even take out the voyage, and
Yeah,
you could still have you'd
yeah,
still have a fun day.
very
Like,
much so. I mean,
I
take
think the
out the
legend. I
voyage.
think the legend could be a headliner, and it would feel more like a family park at that point.
Yeah,
Let's be honest, but it would be a fun day. Yeah. I mean, I haven't been in a while, but I liked it too. I love Holiday World, so it was a really fun day. We got a ton of rides in on. I think we got four Legend, four Raven, three or four Thunderbird. Um, it was a good day for sure. So
yeah. Let's see. I was going to pull up. We are using our trusty app. If you don't have it, I saw someone post about it on Facebook. It's called a Log Ride. A lot of enthusiasts, I'm sure, have it. But if you're just, wanting to document your rides, and that's kind of where we're starting our journey here with this podcast. All of these rides that we're going to be talking about in our counts are all documented rides. I began documenting mine of June 2023, so got a little bit of a head start on Ryan as far as the coaster count goes. But our
yeah,
credit wise, we're very close already based on what we've ridden in our lifetimes. But
yeah.
looking at the numbers, yeah, we rode the Legend Voyage the most, Thunderbird 3 times, Raven twice. Gobbler Getaway was the dark ride, Good Gravy, of course, once, and then Liberty Launch the flat ride. So,
Yeah, and again, we really didn't have to wait for much at all. Maybe a couple 15-20 minute waits on
yeah,
Voyage, and the park was packed. But the
yeah,
thing about Holiday World is Splash and Safari, their water park is one of the best water parks in the entire world. So, and I don't say that just as a homer. It's massive. It's great. It looked better than Kings Island Water Park from what I
for sure.
saw. Okay, so
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, so it's probably one of the best ones in the country for sure, and that has a lot of people there. As we were on the lift for the lift for the voyage, I even like looked over and saw the weights on some of the water the slides, and I was showing Marcus. I'm like, look at that, like that. People are
Down
here.
to the bottom.
They're mostly in the park though, so if you do come here, just keep that in mind. If you go to the water park, you'll probably have lines, but for coasters, which I'm guessing is the reason you are here, you should be good. I
Yep.
mean, walk-ons on the Raven, Legend, we always got to the station. Thunderbird usually got to the station. Voyage, occasionally you have to wait 10 minutes, but
Yep.
for one of the best roller coasters in the world, I will wait 10 minutes every time.
100%.
Yep.
Can't complain. It was a fun day, open to close. From there, we left. I think park closed 8 Central Time, so we actually had about a 2.5 hour drive getting to back to my place in Northern Kentucky. So departed, got back home about 11:30, and had to gear up for what was going to be another early start to the day. Ended up not going to bed till close to 2 a.m. It felt like.
Yeah, I didn't get a lot of sleep these last 3 days for sure. I'm ready to catch up today.
There's a reason why we're running on fumes, and voices are a little bit different than what they we'd like them to be. But I think that's the exhaustion of the voices is part of us having fun.
Oh
And
yeah.
why we wanted to give you our immediate reaction. So Kings Island opened up at 10 a.m. Eastern time the next day, and it was open from 10 to 8. The last day of daily ops for the 2024 season. And I mean, rather than going through, since there are so many coasters, we rode 12 coasters from Kings Island over the course of Sunday. Rather than going through every single one, just we'll list them out for you. Started our day over.
Yeah, I have it right here. Actually, I can give you the
Give us
exact
the rundown.
timeline of our day. We went from we started off at Diamondback because That's
It
an
was
all time.
close to the fast lane.
Yeah.
So typically, my wife and I, whenever we go, we are season pass holders. We'll go into the park, and a lot of times we will go of an evening whenever the fast lane booth that's at the front of the park is closed, and so you have to go to another kiosk to pick up your fast lane. So just out of habit, we went over to the Diamondback side, which is where we typically pick up our fast lane. So that's where we started.
Yeah, and we'll just give a quick rundown of each
Yeah.
of them. We got 12 of them to go through, so we don't want to spend 10 minutes on each one. We went to Diamondback, B&M
Yeah.
Hyper, tons of airtime.
Airtime machine.
Airtime machine. It's I can tell you, if Orion wasn't there, it would dominate the skyline.
Yeah.
It is a very big ride. It's very fun. We went to anything you want to add on top of that?
No, I mean we can save it for the rankings.
Okay.
I mean just the airtime machine, and just a fun ride. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we went to Mystic Timbers. First ride on that, the CGI Woody. Kind of not imposing, not huge and tall, but it packs a huge punch. So again, we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
We actually rerode Diamondback the second time. The first time I wouldn't say disappointed, but there was left a little bit to be desired, but it got filled the second time.
Yeah. We had our best
actually,
ride of the day on
in the
Diamondback.
front
That second.
row, actually, in the front row, I was flying out of my seat in the front row, and I had a lot of speed. The first half of that layout is great, but moving on, we went to the Beast. After that, the very iconic Beast. I think we went back row on the first ride of the day on that one.
I think we did. Yeah, we did.
And again, we'll get into more in that later, but that was actually made by Kings Island back in the 70s. So
Yep, 79. This is
you all know what the Beast is.
45th season.
Very iconic, very good roller coaster. Next, we went towards the middle of the park and went to Backlot Stunt Coaster. It's a little. Is it Premier Rides?
Yeah, Premier
Rides launch
2005,
coaster.
2006.
Yeah,
right
Premier
before
Rides launch coaster.
Yeah, 2005.
Had pretty good theming.
Yep.
For sure. One of the better themed coasters.
And I think that's a credit to the Paramount days. I mean,
Yeah.
it was one of the Paramount attractions. Used to be the Italian Job stunt track, but of course, Cedar Fair at the time lost the IP.
Yeah, and it was our first not like marquee attraction of the day, but it definitely was. It was a good ride for sure. Next, we went to Flight of Fear. I won't give my opinions on that one yet.
Another Premier. No, I mean, indoor coaster. If you haven't been, for the most part, dark on the inside. It's dimly lit, so you can't really see much of the track inside there if you haven't been to Kings Island. But a launch coaster again from Premier.
Yeah,
and
I
another coaster with decent theming.
Those are the only two launches in the park. Am I right on that? I think they are.
Yeah, I think so.
They are. So maybe we'll get a big boy launch one day. And
that Vortex plot of land, it's open and ready for an awesome launch coaster.
All right. Next we went to Adventure Express. Very underrated ride, I think.
Yep.
It's
an Aero mine train.
Yeah, Aero
I think if I heard it correctly off of a YouTube channel, whenever we were watching it, it might be the last Aero mine train that was made. It came out in 91. Only 68 foot tall, 35 miles per hour. But I'll tell you, it flies.
And has some good laterals too, for
yes.
sure. It's a good ride. Then we did both sides of Racer, blue and red. I was pleasantly very surprised by Racer. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It has some airtime. It's a fun ride. It's actually super smooth, which it's also an ace landmark. So as was the Beast as well. But
it's 2 credits as well.
2 credits.
2 different coasters.
Blue and red. So it was nice for sure. And anything to add on Racer?
I mean, I just think that you said an ace landmark. I think that for what it was at the time, it opened up with the park. Pretty sure in 72 with Kings Island whenever it relocated from Coney down by the river. I mean, it's just such a historic coaster. And the last couple of years, if I'm not mistaken, Gravity Group came in and retracted it, made it even smoother. Which really, it's a good, smooth, fun ride. It is what it is, kind of like we said, with some of the rides at Holiday World.
You'd expect it to be rough though, with just being so old. It wasn't at all. It was as smooth as it could be.
More than 50 years old.
Fun ride. It's not intense. It's not crazy, but it's fun. Okay, and you guys are probably wondering where Orion's been this whole time. The the arguably Giga Coaster. I think me and Marcus both count it
Yeah.
as a Giga
It all
Coaster.
depends on who you ask. There
Yeah,
is that asterisk next
yeah.
to it.
It's
287 foot tall,
but drops 300 feet.
drops 300 foot.
So
I'm under I'm in the camp of it is a Giga Coaster due to the drop.
I would
Um,
agree for sure.
and and
For
and
sure.
it's got the speed
91 miles
as
per
well.
hour, faster than Intimidator 305. So it might not feel like it, but that remains to be seen for us. We haven't been on Intimidator 305, but it is faster. And yeah, it's a great roller coaster, great B&M Giga. I I enjoyed it a lot for sure.
It's a fun ride.
There that we did first row in the front, and it kind of rips your face off with
That's my
the
favorite part.
speed.
That's
Yeah.
my favorite part of Orion. I think is
But we had some
we did.
back row rides later that were honestly, I think my best ride on it was a back row ride. So
And
I
we'll
really,
explain why in a little bit.
yeah, and I really liked it. Okay, next we went over to we're about midday at this point. We did all those in the first 4 hours, so we were rolling and going. I think we probably ate lunch sometime in there as
Yeah.
well. But next we went to Banshee,
Yep.
the B&M invert, and I really like Banshee. I've actually heard some kind of questionable things from it, like it was really rattly.
The
the
B&M
layout
rattle.
wasn't super intense, which it probably wasn't, but it was a really good ride. It was smooth and it was fun. I liked it.
Yeah, it's typically not a ride that my wife and I ride every single time we're at the. Not for the fact that we don't like inversions or anything along those lines, but just quite frankly, just it's front right of the park. There are more coasters up there that we don't love that much, and so if we come for a few hours of an evening, which is typically whenever we do, we're gonna go to more of our favorite ones first.
Yeah.
And so that's typically what we do. But I will say, I guess, given that prejudice just a little bit to Ryan of those thoughts, and I'll say, walking away from our one ride on Banshee for the day, I walked away very pleasantly surprised. Probably
Yeah.
one of the best rides on Banshee I've had. In
I
quite some
had
time.
I had a lot of fun. It was good. We were front row, and it was good for sure. All right. Next we have in Vertigo, and it is Vekoma Invert, and it's the last one in the U.S. on that, I believe.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, not going too much into it. It's very intense. Roller coaster has a lot of really quick elements. It's a boomerang, but it's kind of different because it's an inverted boomerang. So, anything to add on in Vertigo? Anything to add that you don't want to add later?
Nothing really. It's another one of those rides that I kind of just said it.
You just
It's
don't make it over there all the time.
I just don't make it over there. And there are reasons why, and I think a lot of those reasons will come into play for my rankings as well.
Okay. And then next we're gonna have the bat. It's kind of all the way tucked off in the very corner, and we actually got a rain delay right before getting on it. It was lightning
Yep.
delay for about an hour, but
Our longest wait of the day. We did have fast lane, and the bat doesn't have fast lane, so we had to wait through the line for it, and then we were next in the
Yeah.
front. And
yeah,
lightning.
we really wanted to get fast lane. Well, they have it, but I really wanted to get it because I wanted to get all the coasters out of the. I wanted to experience everything, get all the credits, could do all that, but then also be able to ride my favorites again and again and again, and we did get to do that.
And
So
yeah, not giving away any of the rankings, but we did re-ride some of the top rankings for Ryan at Kings Island. So
for sure,
rode them quite a bit.
Yep. And the bat. So yeah, I mean the bat it's for sure solid.
For me, I think it could be the sleeper of Kings Island for me to go out on that limb and say that, because it is older. It's one of very few remaining Arrows suspended coasters. I'm pretty sure it's a clone to Vortex at Canada's Wonderland, if I'm saying that correctly, or memory serves me correctly. And then, of course,
I believe
Iron
you're right.
Dragon at Cedar Point.
It's a lot better than Iron Dragon, in my opinion.
Yeah, I actually don't think I've been on Iron Dragon. Ryan and I went to Cedar Point. Honestly, Cedar Point's kind of where our coaster journeys began in college more than 10 years ago. But I don't think I rode it with you. I think we had split up into different groups at the time. So I don't think I've rode it.
You ever
but
rode Iron Dragon?
I don't think I've rode it. No,
Okay.
we didn't ride
There's
it
a
this
couple you
year.
haven't ridden there, so you need to
Yeah,
get on that.
that is one credit we were discussing earlier that I don't think I've gotten at Cedar Point in addition to Blue Streak, and so Iron Dragon is one I need to add. But all that to say, I do think it is the sleeper because it is a little
Yeah.
bit older.
Oh, the bat. It's a
It's
solid.
intense.
Yeah.
Um,
Intense. I mean,
I do. I mean, there's a lot of G forces going around because
Yeah.
it is more of a terrain coaster. So you start kind of go down into a valley, and there are some banks that it does.
for like a family thrill coaster, it is intense for
Yeah.
sure. Which I think is what that kind of ride is supposed to. No, it's a good ride. I agree with it being underrated for sure. I do love that ride.
I mean, so the drop height's only 70 foot, but I mean it goes 51 miles per hour and it speeds
Yeah.
through that layout. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it. It's just so far.
It is very
up
tucked
there.
away. It's kind of like Thunderbird at Holiday World,
Yeah,
where it's all
yeah.
the way towards the back. It's a little more of an afterthought than Thunderbird because it's just one little bitty queue taking
Yeah.
you back there, where Thunderbird has a whole section back there. But it's a walk from the rest of the park for
It's
sure.
past the old Son of Beast train station, which Banshee now occupies the land that Son of Beast was on. But there's really nothing back there, which I say back there, but it's actually at the front of the park, just straight left at the very front. But so it's just hard to make your way there.
Yeah. But to be fair, whenever all the rides people are coming to see besides Banshee are going to be on the totally opposite side of the park, so it kind of is back there,
Yeah,
That's not where you're migrating towards that right hand side
Yep.
from the entrance. So,
Yep.
And I kind of got that from just being there one day. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, the next ride we had, which was 4:30, so we had a couple more to knock out. We actually did a dark ride first, Boo Blasters, and that's just a shooting dark ride. But after that, we did Snoopy Soapbox Racers, which is very similar to Good Gravy at Holiday World. It's family Vekoma Boomerang. I think they actually opened a week apart. So
Yep. Start of the 2024 season.
and pretty much everything I said about Good Gravy could go for this. This one might be a little more intense on the ride, but it's a really good ride, really smooth, and I enjoyed it. For
Yeah, one of my very first rides on Snoopy Soapbox Racers. There was another gentleman who was in Fastlane with my wife and I, and we kind of talked with him at the time, and we got off the ride, and he made the comment. He said, "There's going to be a lot of small kids that are going to get sick off this,"
Yeah.
and I would agree because
It whips you for sure.
it does.
for
The
what-
banks are pretty steep for it to
Yeah.
be a family coaster, especially in the kiddie section of the park.
Yeah. For sure.
I say pretty intense with that caveat.
Yeah, with the caveat. It's definitely more intense than Good Gravy.
Yes,
If you're
yeah.
counting it that you would expect it, you would have expected it would have been a little bit more like
Yep.
that. But both great
Yeah.
rides. It's just
Very
maybe not-
smooth.
maybe not our cup of tea, but good rides for sure.
Yeah.
It's just not intense.
Again, but all that to say, they're there at the park.
Perfect fit.
The parks
Hey,
make
Kings
those
Island-
investments for those
big
reasons.
voice crack there. But Kings Island has a lot of kids coasters. To be honest, I think there was 4
Yeah.
in total. So
Yeah.
including the Vekoma Family Boomerang. So
Yeah, you've got the suspended flying coaster.
we rode, and then the wood, and then the little bitty one.
yeah.
We rode none of the other 3.
Yep.
Because I didn't really care to do that.
Yeah.
We didn't want to focus. We wanted to focus on getting re-rides instead. So,
Yep.
So after that, we hit up. I'll just run through these and just tell you what we hit up again. We hit up Diamondback to Mystic to Beast to Orion to Diamondback to Mystic, and then we called it a day. We actually rode 25 roller coasters yesterday, which was actually the most Marcus has ever ridden in a day at Kings Island.
Yeah. I'd come close before. I think I got 24
We
before.
were really pushing for the record. That's why we were like, when we got to the end, we were just running on and off of Mystic as many times as we could. So.
Yeah, just right there. Just honestly, I felt
That was
bad for the
totally the only reason, just to get the record. Totally
the
only
only reason, I'm sure. Yeah, no,
The
you'll
only
you'll hear more about that in just a little bit. But it was a really successful day. I mean, honestly, walking away from day number 2 of open to close at a park,
Day 3 for me.
day 3 for you, we were pretty worn out. We're feeling the effects today, but man, was it worth it?
Yeah, it was. This trip in general was so fun, and I mean, it's kind of kickstarting this, and it's kickstarting, us planning other trips and
Yep.
going to more parks and doing more podcasts and kind of just wanting to experience the world of roller coasters even more than I already have.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, we've talked about both of the days at Holiday World, at Kings Island, and kind of tried to give you a good summary of what occurred during those days. And now we get to the portion of we're actually going to rank these out. And we'll go kind of maybe at a chunk at a time. So maybe we roll Road 17 coasters. So maybe we'll give the first two, and then maybe go by five by
Let's do
five.
the first three.
First three.
First three.
First three.
What's your 17?
17th coaster. It's going to be none other than Invertigo. There's a reason that Invertigo was. This is the first time that I've ridden Invertigo this season, and I rode it once last season.
And he goes like every week, guys. So this is pretty crazy.
I actually shoot. I think that this might be my 19th or 20th trip to Kings Island this year.
And no Invertigo.
And no Invertigo. I hate to say it. I just don't like it.
Okay.
And even our ride on it as we were going, it's fine. Like it headbangs. The restraints aren't that comfortable to begin with, and
the restraints are bad.
Yeah.
I will say that.
And so we're riding it, and it's fine as you go forward. We did have the front of the train where you're going forward through the first set of track, and then we went backwards on the back half, and the back half is just what kills me every single time. Going backwards and not being able to control your head as much, and it just destroys.
Yeah, no, I mean, those are pretty fair points for sure. My number 17 is going to be Flight of Fear. I just had a pretty bad experience on Flight of Fear. I just didn't really enjoy it. I don't really get dizzy on roller coasters, but I got dizzy off that. And it was because of the elements were just bad to me. It was some pretty bad head banging. It just wasn't comfortable, and I didn't like it. It does have a good corkscrew at the end, but that's probably pretty much the only redeeming quality of that ride for me. I really didn't like it. I rated it a 2.2 out of 10. I was 2.2 out of 10. I was not a fan of that ride. Okay, we'll go up to 16. 16, I've got Good Gravy. And again, we've already kind of talked about these Vekoma family boomerangs. And I think they're great. I think they're fun. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yep.
So I won't go into any more detail on that. We can push it. We can go over to him for his 16.
Yeah, 16. I'm going to echo exactly what you said, except it's going to be Flight of Fear. So I take all points.
Okay.
All points from that. It's just not an enjoyable ride. My only thing that I love about it is the launch factor. I love the fact that I think going 0 to 60 in 3 or 4 seconds, whatever it is. It's fun. That first part is fun, but the rest of the spaghetti bowl of madness is just not there.
I think I would have liked it more if it didn't if it didn't hurt me and kind of beat me up, I guess. But yeah, I don't really get uncomfortable on roller coasters ever, and that one kind of going, I was like, I just didn't like it after.
Yeah, so 100%, I agree with most of your points that you made for it. Mine's just a little bit farther down, but that segues me right into number 15 for me, and mine is Good Gravy.
Okay.
And just because I put it ahead of the other two, because it's not enjoyable ride for me. I enjoy it. I enjoy Good Gravy. It's just not intense. It's not what I'm looking for. It is what it is, where it is for a reason. But theming was great. Smooth.
Theming's great.
Yeah. So number 15 for me. Good
okay.
Gravy.
And I'll go into my number 15, which I had the other Vekoma family, and I've got this one now. It's going to be Snoopy Soapbox Racers. A little better than Good Gravy, ride-wise, but still essentially the same thing. I mean, for me, it's not much different. It's a little more intense, but it's definitely going to be a thing I'm not going to really go out of my way to ride after I've got the credit. So, yeah. Those are 17 through 15.
Going now top 15 going into
Or top 14.
top 14.
I'll start because my 14 has been the only other one we talked about, and that's in Vertigo.
Okay.
I just found the layout more fun, I think, than you,
Yep.
or potentially. I think everything you brought up in the negatives is pretty accurate. Once my head came off the back pad on the way back, it was uncomfortable for sure. And I do not know why. I have no idea why theme parks would put that restraint in their park. It is on your ears and it rattles, and
it just hurts.
And I don't get how people say it's smooth because I think it's terrible.
Yeah, a lot of people, we follow YouTubers and everything, and they say it's smooth. I would love to know. Maybe their rides are a little bit better than ours. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the difference is, but our ride was not that way.
I mean, yeah. Even if the layout's smooth, which I don't think it is, but even if the layout's smooth, the restraints just hurt. They're doing the opposite of this. Yeah, they hurt. They suck.
I had sunglasses on, and so sunglasses were kind of pushing my ears out, and as they would bang up against the restraints, the restraint would push my ear and my sunglasses kind of into my head, and it just hurt. Maybe that was my fault for wearing sunglasses on it. Maybe that's why it dropped a little bit lower, but
yeah. So I mean,
just not a fun ride. So that was your number 14.
Yeah, only reason it beats the two Family of Vekomas because it's
just a little bit
exciting,
better of a layout, more thrilling for you.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's just not comfortable. Flight of Fear just sucked. So that's lost to it. I hate it. I don't know if I hate it. Yeah, I didn't enjoy the ride. I'll never ride again.
That's fair. I mean, if you're going to Kings Island and
there's a lot of stuff you can do there. You don't need to do Flight of Fear.
That is my point. My wife and I typically skip in Vertigo and Flight of Fear at Kings Island, and that's the reason why.
Number 14 for
you. If in this starts dipping into the Holiday World section of coasters. So if there's a coaster that, based on our rides, went to Holiday World and I wasn't going to ride it, I would be okay with that. And that's unfortunately the Ace Landmark. I just walking away from it. I'll take what you said earlier and just say maybe it's just unfortunate. Maybe we didn't have the best of rides on it. There just wasn't as much speed, and I felt that what speed we had and what roughness we had just wasn't there for me.
You're going the Raven under Snoopy's Soapbox Racers.
That is the first maybe hot take of the day.
That is a steaming hot take.
I
know you caught it on a bad day, but in no way was that first ride worse than Snoopy's Soapbox Racers.
I don't know, man. I would take it. I would put it at 14.
Wow.
Maybe that's obviously one of our first major disagreements, which there will be plenty as we get into it. But I think that stems in, and you're going to see a theme here, is that I like a smoother ride. It's more enjoyable. So whenever I'm relaxed and I'm enjoying that type of roller coaster, it's better for me. Whenever it comes to the roughness, if it's rough unnecessarily and there's nothing else being added to it, then maybe it gets negative points for me. And I think that's where at the bottom of my list here in Vertigo and Flight of Fear, they're rough unnecessarily. The Raven, there wasn't many things added to it that day. We just didn't have the best of rides. So the fun thrill factor of it wasn't really there, and then it was just a little bit rough for me.
Got a lot of airtime.
Well, a little bit, but not compared to some of the other wooden roller coasters, which are ranked higher.
Though.
I personally enjoy Snoopy a little bit more. Yeah. On that ride, as far as that ride goes.
That'll change when he goes back, don't worry.
I hope so. And I say that with that caveat. I hope that it does change.
It'll change.
Because clearly and I'm not saying that the golden ticket winner for 4 years, Ace Landmark Coaster, is worse than Snoopy Soapbox Racers.
That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying.
I'm saying the ride as far as
I hate this
Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. Saturday, Sunday, the rides were
friendship over, podcast over.
Is it divorce?
Raven.
Episode number 1, it's officially over. And the thing that wrecks the podcast from the start is our disagreement on Snoopy Soapbox Racer.
No, it's not. No, it has nothing to do with Snoopy Soapbox Racers. I think that is a fine ride. I like Snoopy Soapbox Racers. The Raven is the disagreement.
Well, okay. So with that to say, I'm going to go ahead and give you number 13 because Snoopy is number 13
Okay.
for me. So they're back to back. I'm not saying that Snoopy is
I have
leaps
no.
and
I
bounds.
don't care about Snoopy, Marcus. I don't care about Snoopy.
It's the fact
I
that the
care
Raven.
about Raven and how you are a
So had
hater.
I put Raven at
All
13,
right.
you would be fine with that. Like you.
No, it's not even close to 13 on my list. But
Wow.
the fact that you put a family, not even thrill, like a family, just straight family coaster over it's wild to me. I won't lie. I'm ranting right now.
This is Rollercoaster Rants for a
Um,
reason. I'm telling you why my ride on Snoopy was just a tad bit better, smoother.
it's a way
I
smoother.
like going backwards. That was a fun aspect for me.
All right, in Vertigo, put it up.
No, but see again, pain for unnecessary pain was kind of what I felt walking away from Raven. We did it twice, and honestly, had we finished Raven
On the one, yeah.
on the one, I think we would be having a different conversation. But we went from riding it in the back to riding it front row, which walked away front row, and
Yeah, well, I mean, wood coasters they're really affected by the different conditions,
yeah.
and having no one on your train on a wood coaster.
I mean, there were 6 people
is
on
bad.
the train.
That being said,
Yeah.
we're rating best rides here, but okay, whatever. I'll get through it. I'll get over it. Fine. Whatever. And my 13 is Backlot Stunt Coaster.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the ride. I actually enjoyed it. I'm every ride but Flight of Fear, and even though I have it ranked higher than the two Family of Vekoma Boomerangs in Vertigo, I enjoyed. But yeah, Backlot Stunt Coaster, it's perfectly fine. I have it rated as a 6.9. That's pretty nice. But it is it's fun. It's fun.
It's a short layout, but
Yeah.
I
There's
think
nothing wrong with it
no, and
for me.
and it's my number 12. So
Stop
I mean,
going in here. I gotta catch up.
you gotta catch up.
I gotta catch up. Stop spouting out your.
Well, I'm saying that because you're giving the things here, and so I'm just gonna piggyback.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna move on because I don't. I mean, again, Backlot. It's got a launch. It's definitely like a family thrill coaster. It's got a launch. It has some good elements for sure. It's just not very intense, and it's there's nothing wrong with it. But my number 12 is Adventure Express. And yeah, I mean, Adventure Express has some really good laterals in it. It's a bit of a rough ride, but I definitely enjoy it. It's got some good theming. And again, it's nothing crazy, but it is fun for sure.
Yeah,
I like Adventure Express.
yeah. Adventure Express is fun. It's a little bit farther up for me.
Yeah, I think
Um,
I don't think I rated as highly as you for sure. But
yeah, it's
don't tell me what it is.
for Adventure Express, I think that it's just it runs through, like we said earlier, it runs through the layout.
Yeah, it's in a good setting too.
Very good setting. I mean, I think the worst part about Adventure Express is you're going up the second chain lift and it just goes to the brake run.
But I do like the theming of the.
I do
chain
too.
lift. I just knew about it beforehand. But yeah, if I didn't know about it beforehand, I'd probably be like, oh, well, okay.
Kind of let down.
A little bit, yeah.
I personally really like Adventure Express. Not getting to. I'm not jumping ahead. Not
That
going
was
to.
my 12. So what is your 11? Because you already did your 12.
Yep.
Correct?
So of course, kind of recap. We've
Yeah.
top 12.
So far, I've had 17 Flight of Fear, 16 Good Gravy, 15 Snoopy Soapbox Racers.
I like Snoop Box
Four-
better.
14 in Vertigo, 13 Backlot, and 12 Adventure Express. What have
Yeah.
been your bottom 6?
Bottom 6, 17 in Vertigo, Flight of Fear at 16, Good Gravy 15, Raven, the that kind of argument there, 14.
Yeah, don't say that one.
Snoopy 13 and Backlot at 12. Cracking into the top 11.
Top 11. You go ahead, start it off.
Racer. I think that I really like it. It's a landmark coaster that just provides a lot of history. So there's some nostalgia there for me. It was one of my first roller coasters. But as far as just the ride itself, I thought we got some really good airtime on both sides, both blue and red. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not more intense than some of the ones lower on the list here, but I like the airtime. That's the type of coaster I think I enjoy more, and I just really had a great time riding it. Both we rode it both front and back, and I had a great time riding both sides.
Guess what? Racer's number 11 for me.
How about that? We
Yeah,
agree
we
on
agreed.
something. First time
We
in this
agreed. So I won't
list.
really go into any more detail. I enjoyed it. I thought it was gonna be like not that. I thought it was gonna be whatever, but I had more fun for sure. Okay, number 10 for me is going to be the bat.
Ah,
Yeah, I really enjoyed the bat. Nothing wrong with it at all. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess if we went on just today's rides, it might even be my number 9, but I'll leave it at number 10 for now. It was really fun. I did little number rank ratings after it, and it's point 0.1 behind my ninth place. So
that's fair.
really, so they're about interchangeable on it. But I really enjoyed the bat. It was we kind of went over all the elements, but the swinging in it, it's way more intense than you think it's gonna be. It kind of throws you around, and it's going fast.
Yep.
So I really enjoyed the bat, and that starts my top 10.
Start mine. I've got Adventure Express. What two places higher than you?
Yeah, at 12.
So yeah, Adventure Express number 10 for me. We kind of talked about that as it is. It's part of. I think that it's it's just out of control there in the middle part of the layout. There's one good lateral movement that's it just whips you, especially if you're in the back. If you're riding Adventure Express, you must ride it in the back. The front is fine, but you're essentially down the hill a good
Yeah.
portion once it actually picks up some steam and gets going. It just feels out of control. Love it. And honestly, this isn't regarding our rankings and our trip this weekend because we didn't have any night rides. But if you can get a night ride on Adventure Express, it is a sleeper of a night ride at Kings Island. So maybe a little bias there that makes it crack into my top 10 that snuck in there. But I thoroughly enjoy Adventure Express and
All right.
going to number 9.
Yeah.
And that continues conversation. You said that Bat could potentially be your number 9 based on a ride this weekend, and that's number 9 for me.
Oh, okay. So we're only one spot off on
Yeah,
on that.
yeah.
then.
So pretty close. I mean, again, the Bat for us and for me. I said it's got that intensity. I think that it's got some pretty powerful forces as you make those banks there in the second half, and then you lead up to the brake run, and I mean we were on our side.
Yeah,
felt
they when you get to the breaker and it whips really hard.
and
It's
it
cool.
was so much fun. And honestly, I think the worst part of it is how slow the chain lift is, but the drop is good. It picks up speed quick, and then especially once you get to that second half, it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I agree.
a lot of good pros
I
from it.
really like the bat. My number 9, which is the point 0.1 away, it was Raven. Raven is definitely not running was not running great this weekend.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But it's a great ride. In the back in that you get so much airtime, and it tears through the second half of the layout. And where you get such a good sense of speed. And again, it might not have shown it this weekend, but I'm pretty confident that it'll change going into next year, especially if we can get out for Hollywood
Yeah.
Nights. It's at the beginning of the season, right when they retrack all of their woodies right before the year. You won't have that roughness, but also have the speed and the airtime. And we'll get full cars.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really think it'll make all the difference in the world. I do think the Raven is a really good ride. And
I think
that's
that,
why
and
it's
that's
number 9 for me.
there's a lot of factors I feel like this weekend that we're just going against it.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
me. So I'm not sitting here and I'm not saying, oh my goodness, how is the Raven 9 for you? Because I can easily see why it is.
All right.
Um,
And
so-
then I can run into 8 while we're here, and I'm gonna go with Thunderbird. I really like Thunderbird. It's B&M launch, and all the forces are there. The intensity is there. It's very smooth. The elements are really good as long as you are in on the left side and preferably in the front. But it's a little short, and we're past. This is probably the first of the unless I'm counting Raven. It's the first of like the big marquee coasters
Yeah.
for the parks. And for that, it's not except for the launch. The launch is pretty unique and big and nice, but besides the launch, there's not too much in it that's original. It's kind of a basic B&M after the launch. So
Yeah. Yeah. And
for me,
yeah, I mean, it was number 8 for me as well. And I
oh,
think that that's an indicator, just exactly what you said. It's the first of the marquee attractions. So that makes sense that the remaining rides are kind of separated because that's the first of the big boys, so to speak. And I agree. I think the near miss elements, especially on the left side, we had a good ride.
yeah,
On
some
that,
of those front left rides are great. Like
phenomenal.
they're really good rides.
A lot
But
of fun. A lot of fun. I love the launching aspect of it. Um,
it's a
it,
little crazy that
it packs.
they. Well, I think it's crazy that the left and the right side are such a huge gap in quality. Like I don't know how you make them. I don't know how B&M makes roller coaster and then just makes it average from one side and then really good from the other side. It's kind of crazy. If you go to Holiday World, do left.
Yeah, do left, do front left. Yeah, I agree. The disparity between the two is kind of mind blowing. It both times, and I say that because we rode the left twice,
Yeah.
and then we rode right in between the two. Thoroughly enjoyed my first ride on it. We went back for the re-rides, rode it on the right. And we both kind of underwhelmed to buy it,
Yeah.
and then it was redeemed by that last ride, which I think was best ride. Just so much fun. So yeah, I agree with all points. My biggest takeaway from Thunderbird, I think, was the near miss elements again, and just the pack of punch that the launch had.
Yeah,
I
I'd
was
say
surprised.
I love the launch. I love the Heartline roll.
Yep.
On right before the brake run, and I love the corkscrew's also really good in
Yep.
it. And then you also get some solid. I mean, I wouldn't not solid airtime, but you get a little bit of airtime for what it is
Yep.
for sure too.
Yep.
So,
All right,
I
on
agree.
to number
What is your
7.
number 7?
Yeah. Number 7 for me. I said it to you as we were riding. I don't think that it was running the best that it was. And that's the Beast.
That is my number 7 as well.
How about
So
that? We agree back to
yeah.
back. That's shocking.
I'll let you start.
Yeah, I just think that kind of like, I said with the Voyage, it's just there's so much hype around both the Voyage and the Beast. Unfortunately, I think that sometimes that can be to the detriment of the Beast. And in this situation, it was. We got on the Beast. It was fine. It was kind of rough, which is to be expected. I'm not saying
I don't care about the roughness, to be honest. Holyrood's my home.
you're right, but for me, like going into it, I was like, I've ridden the Beast, and the Beast has been top for me in some ranks on some rides, but it was daytime. It wasn't running the best for us. And that's why it dropped. I've ridden the Beast at night. I love night rides on it, especially during Halloween Haunt, and it runs better. It wasn't running that good for us on Saturday, and so there's a lot of portions of the Beast that feel like it's not like what is it trying to accomplish. And I say that with it's my home park. I get the nostalgia of the Beast, but they're just portions that it's what are we doing here? And but those problems are solved at night, and I think that the darkness adds to the mystique of it. In some ways, I know you'll probably disagree on some things there.
I just don't think you can rely on the night ride,
And it stinks. It stinks because so much of your day at a park is during the daytime, and it stinks. It's like why would you care? How can a ride be iconic if it's that big of a difference? But
it's got to stand up on its own. Like you can take Voyage for an example. It's
the Voyage is great.
It's
during the day and at night.
Probably like the best night ride you can find anywhere on Earth. But I'm not going to be judging it on the night ride. It has to stay with the day. It has to stay with the day ride.
And this day ride, or Sunday,
I'll go into it. I have it 0.1 above Thunderbird, and I think that's pretty fair from our rides on it. And I know we're not counting bad rides, but the front row of the Beast, it did nothing. It was the whole first, because it's a 5.5 minute ride. The whole first 3 minutes of the ride, we didn't have one good element in the whole ride.
You're just rolling with the
The
terrain.
double helix is always pretty good,
Yeah.
but before that, it was not great at all. My last ride on it was a lot better. It is the reason it is number 7. Otherwise, I would have been having a real hot take and having it like 9 or 10.
Oh man.
For sure. But I think as like the Raven, it just was not a good showing this weekend for the Beast. And I believe it can be better, and that is something I will always ride when I go back to Kings Island. I'm not ever like the Raven. I'm never gonna just not ride it when I go there. I'm always gonna ride it. It's not gonna be in Vertigo or Flight of Fear or Good Gravy. You know, I'm gonna ride the ride.
But you're not gonna ride Good Gravy every time?
Well, maybe I will. We'll see.
Let's see on the wait.
Maybe if I'm feeling a little spicy with the theme in there, you know.
Huh.
But me especially, as someone who absolutely loves wooden coasters, they call me Shimmy Woodman. I love wooden coasters, but the Beast was not hitting. There are so many elements on the Beast, if you can even call them elements, that just do absolutely nothing. There is a straight track. It just goes straight, like not even fast for a lot of it. And I was disappointed overall, but I did have a pretty good redeeming ride at the end. So it's number 7 for me. I get why it's iconic. It's very old, and I understand that. I love how they time the lift to match to when they're going down the main hill. You have the people coming in the back, and you can see them, everything. That's awesome. And I can see it being a good ride, especially at night. But today it just did not hit. I'll go into my number 6. Which is going to be Banshee. I really like Banshee. It's from what I've seen and what I've experienced. I've ridden it once in my life. It is really good. It was smooth. It was whippy. Too whippy. It's more of a big scale B&M as opposed to a little tight, whips you around a ton. But it was a good time for sure. It felt really fast. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought all the elements hit exactly how they were supposed to. For sure.
It's a large scale B&M, and I think that's made because there's just so much land.
Yeah,
that
they had
that
the
was
Son
there.
of the Beast.
Son of the Beast occupied
They
so
had to
much
kind of
land.
make it big. Yeah.
And so I can agree with that. That is not my number 6. My number 6 is the Legend.
Ooh.
Yeah, number 6, just outside the top 5 for me. And I think that it goes back to I could have easily put the Legend at number 5, and I think
Legend's it's mine. I think they're interchangeable, right? You have them as 5,
So
6. Yeah, I'll say I just have them flipped around.
Banshee's number 5 for me. So kind of talking about number 5, number 6. It could have easily been the other way around, and I think it would have been the other way around. But we had such a good ride for me on Banshee that I thoroughly enjoyed my ride on Banshee so much that it put it in the top 5.
I get it. I do get it.
Yeah.
It was a good ride. I just think I love that the out of control speed airtime that we were getting on Legend for me was on another level of Banshee. But I mean we had them a spot away, weren't too far off.
Yeah.
I'm not insulted like I was on Raven for you to put Legend 6, but it was, and that element on the Legend, the double helix, was one of the best elements of the entire trip.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I mean, as you went through it was just out of control. Felt like you were being tossed to the left side so hard. It was unexpected.
Yeah.
Like I had ridden online POVs of the Legend before, and I didn't really remember the layout that much. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting like the drop in airtime at times. It ran really, really good. The back, much better than the front.
Oh yeah, it's a back row ride. Sure.
I loved it. I think we rode it twice in the back, and both times out of control.
That's one that it's a work in all.
It's a workout.
Most of them at Holiday, like the Voyage and the Legend, are workouts, but they are obviously really good roller coasters. And I think that's another one that, like the Beast with me, could potentially go up for you. On our next trip, because it'll even be a little smoother. I'm sure.
I hope so.
It was definitely a little rough, and that was probably why it got a little docked for you.
Just the roughness,
a little bit of roughness. I like the roughness, but there were a couple of elements on it that were a little, maybe a little too rough. So, That's my 5, and then Banshee's his 5.
Yep.
And then number 6 for me is Banshee, and number 6 for you is Legend. So
Yep. Yep.
we're going into our top 4. I'll start with this one. And
Oh boy.
I think we're gonna be different in the top 4 for sure.
100%. Yeah.
Of his bias, not mine. But number 4 for me is gonna be Diamondback. If you love just smooth airtime, it would be number 1 for you. But for me, I like more variety in my rides. So I kind of like rides that want to do multiple things really well. My front row ride on Dimeback was definitely better. At least the first half of the layout, I was getting a lot more airtime. I was getting a lot of speed, and it was a little more out of control for sure. But I think we rode it 4 or 5 times, and it was only one ride that was really like that.
Yep.
The other 3 all had flaws for sure for me.
Yep.
So I think it's a really good ride. I rated it an 8.7. I rated it above Legend, which is one of, it's a really top roller coaster for me, and it's a wood coaster, which I love. But for me, Dimeback comes in at 4. I really like the length on it as well. It's long. And again, I loved it.
Yep.
But for me, number
4. Controversial. 100%.
I know where this is going,
He knows exactly where it's going.
and it's so wrong.
Um,
There's no way the Voyage is number 4.
he called it.
I know, but there's just no way.
I think.
There's no way.
I think that this is just where we have both just different viewpoints on our rides, and we both enjoy different types of ride experiences, which I like for this dialogue. And you pointed out for sole reason of
both of these are each other's. No, I won't go. Okay, never mind. I won't say that yet. But
essentially, you're gonna see for number 4 pick on us both, and the remaining ones for our top 3 is very indicative of the type of rides experience that we both enjoy, I think. And so for me, I walk away from the Voyage at number 4 solely because it's just it beats you. It's super rough, and it's not that I don't enjoy the thrill of it. I just feel like it's extra rough than what it could be. And I'll say this as a caveat.
And I think
it could be solved.
I think it's late in the year.
Yes.
And I think that's why.
I think it could be solved if it's running smoother at the beginning of the year, especially for Hollywood Nights next year. If we go, regardless, even if we don't go to Hollywood Nights, we'll go to Holiday World. I want to experience that early season ride.
We'll get them on a night ride, and we'll get them. It'll be number 2 probably.
I hope so.
Maybe 1. Night rides on the Voyage is unlike anything I've ever had done in my life. So
I think that add a little bit smoother, just a tad. I'm not saying this needs to be Orion smooth. No, but what I'm saying is there were a couple of potholes that distinctively as we rode it, I said, "Ow, that hurt," and it just really just put me in a place I just didn't thoroughly enjoy. So I put it at number 4 because it is incredibly fun, exciting, and it's so much intensity. Especially that back half. But I walk away.
I thought you loved the front hill.
I love the airtime of it too, but I love the back half racing back to the station.
He just doesn't like the Spaghetti Bowl, which is a little rough now.
Yeah, I'd say the Spaghetti Bowl is my least favorite part of the ride.
If you like the return, then the night
return.
ride is going to be unlike anything other because it's twice as fast.
So I look forward to it.
It's going to be moved up, guys. Don't worry. Okay, don't worry.
But yeah, so Voyage number 4 for me. But with an asterisk of it could go up.
It's going to go up.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah, for sure. But
I do think it can pass my number 3.
But it's
I
not,
do.
I mean, it can pass your number. It can pass anything but your number 1. I know you're number 1, and it can. Believe me, number 1 that's safe, but it can pass.
Safe bet every time.
You just So you go on to your number 3.
Number 3 for me is Orion. I think we did have a couple of really good rides in the back on it. I love the speed that you feel at the front, but I think more so, I love when you're in row 8, you're almost to the top, but you all of a sudden start feeling you're starting to go a little bit more faster than the lift hill. and then you go over, and it flings you over. You've got airtime from the top crest of the hill until you almost hit the valley. And I think that that's why Orion is number 8 for me, solely for one, that airtime there, as
Number
well as the
what?
speed.
Number 8?
Sorry, number 3.
Three.
I'm talking row 8. Row 8.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was gonna say number 8. Goodness, man, that was a
No,
little harsh.
row number 3 for my rankings. Row 8, because you're in the back and it throws you and you're falling
Okay. Yeah.
300 foot for pretty much out of your seat. And then probably my favorite part of the whole ride is the speed hill that you have on the return. I'm up off my seat the whole time.
Yeah. My number 3 is Orion as well. I love. It was really fun. Usually not my type of ride, but it's a Giga. It is very intense, very fun. Again, like you said, in the front you got your wind hitting your face, graying out. In the back you've got the airtime like crazy. Yep. And the speed hill's really good. The belt is fun. It's just short. That would be my only gripe with it. They could have added more. And it's just like for me it's just a what could have been.
Yeah.
Because Cedar Fair, I don't see why they're making a Giga coaster in 2020 and they're not going over the top breaking records with it.
Take away Fury 325 and I think there are less questions with Orion. We both haven't ridden Fury 325, but based on numbers alone and what everyone seems to say and agree, there just feels like there was so much left to be desired.
Yeah.
What if? The big question of what could it have?
Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel with it too. So, again, it's an amazing ride, and it was one of my favorites in the park.
Yeah.
Number 2 for me in the park, but it just, it left a little to be desired for sure. So, going into my number 2, in Kings Island, or on my list, number 1 in Kings Island is Mystic Timber, and I love Mystic Timbers. It is number 2 on this list for the trip, and I mean it can make a case for number 2 overall for me, in my all-time favorite coasters. It is so smooth. It is so whippy. It is so out of control. It's real. Sorry
Siri's
about that.
trying to talk with it. She's trying to chime in on the rankings too.
And it's really impressive because it's not super tall. It's not. It doesn't have any stats that jump out the page. It's not super fast, but it's just the way it does the elements is incredible. And it's also the best theme park at Kings Island, in my opinion, too.
Yeah,
I love Mystic Timbers. It is that. As you can see, why we marathoned it 3 times at the end to try to break his record for most in a day. We did it on Mystic Timbers because it was my first time. That was my favorite. He was going to let me do what I want. So
yeah, which I was completely
not my first
okay
time,
with.
but my first time in years.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing ride. I love it. Again, if number 1 on this list wasn't my number 1, which you obviously know what it is by now, but if it wasn't my number 1 of all time, my GOAT of roller coasters, this would be challenging for number 1, of course, if it wasn't there. So I'll let Marcus take the floor on Mystic Timbers because that's going to be his number 2. I have a feeling
Mystic Timbers is number 2.
Yep, I'll let him take the floor. But I love it.
I just echo everything that you said. It's just out of control from the moment that you go down the hill until you hit the brake run as you're about to enter the shed. It's a lot of fun. We had some really good rides on it. Sunday, 6 rides. I mean, the fact that you can ride a wooden roller coaster that feels out of control, but yet is smooth, and is so re-rideable. That's what I love about it. It is well themed. I love the mystique around Mystic Timbers. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
Longer.
It could be longer. I completely agree.
The reason it's not number 1 for me is because my number 1's a lot longer.
Yeah,
my number 1's taller and faster.
And
the out of control elements are equal. So I really love it.
The pops of airtime, just the lats going back and forth. It just feels just like you're an out of control ride for the 50-ish seconds that you're riding it. And from the drop until you hit the brake run.
Yep.
I do think that it is a coaster that is added. It kind of like you said with the Beast, in your point of it needs to be able to do both. Mystic Timbers is a coaster that does both. It's a fun ride during the day. It's only improved at night, and I personally love it in the fall. I think the theming around it in the fall is only helped. There's a scare zone right outside of it for Halloween Hunt, and it just adds to it. So easy number 2 for me,
Me as
Mystic
well.
Timbers. And one last point is the fact that you said it yesterday that it's not a ride that dominates the skyline incredibly. It's not that tall,
Yeah.
but what it can accomplish by a 97-foot drop, less than a 100-foot drop on this, 53 miles per hour,
Yeah,
and you're out of control the whole time.
It's GCI. I mean, they're just. GCI is going to be. It's people from the gravity, like people from the gravity group, people from Custom Coasters International. They're kind of all like a little family. A lot of different people. It's smooth. It's new.
Yep.
So it's smooth. It'll
get some wear and tear
over time. It'll probably be more like be more like Legend,
Yep.
Voyage, and stuff. And they're obviously going to take great care of it
Yeah.
because Kings Island's great at that. It'll roughen up, but for right now, when it's smooth as glass, we got to enjoy it while we can. And then again, for you, it'll go down when it gets rough. For me, it'll probably stay the same. So,
Yeah.
I like rough.
Well, that gets us to the number
Number one.
one. You already know what it is based on.
You know what both of ours are, but I'll let him go first because his is probably a little more of a surprise, I guess. I mean, not if you know him, but I've openly talked about my number one 10 minutes this video.
Yeah.
So,
well, you made the point earlier. Whenever we were giving our number 4s, whenever you said Diamondback was your number 4, Diamondback is my number 1, and you made the point of if you love airtime, then it's your number 1.
Yeah.
Without question, our second ride was just phenomenal. We were in the front. It was pushing us. We had so much airtime. I do think the airtime is better in the back, but for whatever reason, the airtime that we had and just the ride that we had on our second ride of the day on Diamondback was second to none the whole day for me. It was a blast. And so that's what made it my number 1 for the trip. It is not my number 1 in my lifetime ranks, which is it is not.
Mystic?
Oh, Diamondback.
Yeah, what's number 1?
Oh,
you're saying just overall.
number 1 ranks. Oh, for lifetime ranks, yeah.
Oh, okay. What is it?
If I had to give
Or
it,
do you not want to give it away now?
I can give it away now.
All
We'll
right.
end up talking about it, I'm sure, later. But I think my number 1 lifetime rank is when it's open.
Top Thrill.
Top Thrill 2.
Okay.
That is my rarest credit at this point. Top Thrill 2.
Well, what about Top Thrill 1? Would that have been the number 1 as well?
No.
I liked Top Thrill 1 a lot.
Top Thrill Dragster was fun. But no, it would not be my number 1. It'd take away the spike and the full ride of Top Thrill 2.
He likes the new version better.
Yeah,
I
do.
can't really comment on it, but other than say that I feel like I would like the old version better. But
Possible.
because I personally value the launch more than the more complete ride. But I think that's something I'm gonna have to experience for myself.
Now we're kind of teasing into future episodes of what.
Maybe we'll go to Cedar Point and we'll get an episode on that out soon. We'll see. Maybe
Might
not.
have to
soon.
see. Maybe
not this
I
year.
am going this time next month. We are recording Monday, August 19th, as we speak right now, and I will be at Cedar Point, Lord willing, this time next month. Which you're welcome.
I'll probably
to come.
be out there next year,
Unless
I could swing it, but we'll see.
we have a month to discuss and plan.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Diamondback number 1 for me. At Kings Island for this trip as well. It's just consistent as far as airtime goes. I've ridden it not hundreds of times. It has been hundreds of times.
Yeah, it's
not documentary.
It's on the app.
Documented.
It's like 90 whatever.
We are at after yesterday. I'm at 89 documented rides on Diamondback, and it's just an airtime machine. That's my favorite part of roller coasters, I believe, is the airtime, and that's why I think that there are aspects of Mystic that I really like, aspects of Orion that I really like, and I hinted at the first portion of Voyage that I really like as well, and I think all of my top four is really indicative of airtime that I enjoy. Diamondbacks number one.
Okay, I mean, I get it, but for me, I need more than just airtime for my number one.
That's
I need a
fair.
more
That's
complete. I
fair.
need a more complete ride with a ton of elements. I think without a doubt of anything at both parks, Voyage has the best layout. I don't think it's particularly close. It's just three different aspects. It's so unique. And you've got the airtime. In fact, you've got more airtime on Voyage than any wood coaster in the world. And it might not have been during the. We had one ride that was just absolutely incredible during the day, where we were back row. But it definitely is riding a bit rougher, than it has in the past for me, and then that it probably would at the beginning of the year, I would assume. But on that Friday night, I know it doesn't involve with this, but that night ride was again the best experience I've ever had in my life. So it's my all-time number one favorite coaster for sure, and it was number one. It's hard to have your all-time favorite number one coaster not be number one on our trip because it was. I loved it. Um, it is a workout, of course, but I like that about it. I love that roller coaster. It's so intense. It throws you around. It's got there's so much to it. Whether it's the big hills, whether it's the spaghetti bowl, whether it's the return. Again, it's an incredible coaster. I love it, and it is by far my number one. Even though Mystic Timbers is making a push for number top three ever for me. Voyage Wall is number one and it'll probably be number one for a long time. That thing was made in '06, I believe. It's either '06
think
or
that's right.
'09. It
I'll
is an
look.
old. It is not new, and it is still doing that. So, he's looking it up right now.
2006. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, '06. Yeah, so I mean, it is. It's nearly 20 years old. So it's 2 more years and it'll be 20 years old. So 18 years old and it still does that. And it's still in the conversation. I mean, it's obviously in the conversation for best wooden coaster in the world. It has been since it came out. But winning gold, racking up golden tickets, doing everything it can. Again, it's a little rough. So we just have different styles at the
Yep.
end of the day. He likes the smooth. He likes the airtime. His home park's Kings Island. That makes sense why he likes that.
Being in machine.
My home park's Holiday World. That makes sense
Yep.
why I love wooden coasters and I love bite to my wooden coasters. So, I do think that when he goes on the Voyage at night trimless, though, he will have it way up to where you see it now. So, I'm excited for that. But I'm also excited to get back out to Kings Island for night rides on stuff too, because
Yep.
that might change my rankings as well.
I think that maybe this leads into whenever we accomplish it, let's do a rankings of night rides that we've been on. Maybe at Kings Island, and then maybe combine the parks as well. Once we've done Hollywood Nights, but I think
Yeah.
that
Because Beast will probably I would guess we get altered a lot by that
I think so as well.
for sure.
But no, so 17 coasters in different coasters in the span of 2 days. 39 rides for me, 49 for you. A very successful trip.
Yep.
And
It was fun.
yeah, I mean, it was a blast. I think that's my big takeaway from it. Even though at the end of the day, we have some.
I mean, there's only like two that we didn't.
Most everything that we.
I think Flight of Fear and Vertigo were the only two I actually like. Even though Vertigo's ranked higher than my two Vekoma
Yeah.
family, those are the only two that I like probably wouldn't get on again.
Yeah.
I would say everything else I'd happily get on again.
Yes.
In both parks.
I
So,
completely agree. Those are probably the only two that I would go to the park and skip.
Exactly.
If I go to Holiday World, I'm not skipping the Raven. I'm not
Yeah.
skipping the Voyage. I'm not skipping.
The only
anything
thing I
else.
would potentially skip at Holiday World is Good Gravy.
And the
just
only
to get
reason would be
re-rides.
for the wait for me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
No
They're-
wait. I'd walk on it and have fun.
I
But
agree.
very successful weekend. This the first of what I hope is many trips to come. And more discussions to have, more rants to have.
Yep, we will rant away for sure, especially if he keeps putting Voyage at number 4.
Not wrong. Thank you for if you made it this far.
Yes.
We definitely appreciate it. We hope you enjoy what we're saying. Agree, disagree.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you're Team Voyage or Team Diamondback.
Nah, that's not a fair conversation. I don't know.
Well, why is it not fair?
Completely different I mean, you can't put them on the
Oh, so
same category.
he knows his is worse. He knows people are gonna
I'm
agree
not
with me.
saying no.
That's what
I'm
he's
not taking that take at all. I'm just saying completely different type of ride. I
All
think
right,
that
let us know your favorite ride
yeah,
at Holiday World or Kings Island, or if you've been to both, like us. If you've been lucky enough to visit both, let us know your
yeah.
favorite
Give us all
at either.
17. Break them down. We'd love to see it.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely give us a like, follow, all the above. We are still obviously very new in this game, but we want to place this podcast on as many platforms as we can, wherever you can find it. So as we continue to get better and grow, we hope that you can find us on your favorite platforms, follow along as well. But I guess that's it. We don't really have a close to our podcast yet,
Yeah,
but
that was our rant.
yeah, that was our rant, and let us know what you think.
All right, you guys have a good one.